Hi, I'm Gerd Zimmermann. I was born in the beautiful city of Dresden. I studied on a university for film and television in Potsdam-Babelsberg, and there I studied, first of all, acting. While studying it, though, I had my doubts if that is really a sensible job. All actors, forgive me please. And I stayed at the university to study production, which I also completed. In the prison in Berlin-Hohenschönhausen, I ended, or temporarily, thank God, ended, because I had tried to escape. There was a wonderful German word for that. It was called abhauen. I had tried to abhauen, which I did in Bulgaria. Obviously, I didn't want to escape to Bulgaria. I wanted to escape from Bulgaria to Greece. And that would have been, the world would have been my oyster from there on. Why Bulgaria? Well, I knew the wall pretty well from the wrong side growing up in East Germany, and I realized trying to negotiate that wall is equal to a suicide. Obviously, I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to be free. And I thought there might be a better chance for that using the Bulgarian border. Well, I was wrong, because my escape ended in a hail of bullets, and those bullets made it pretty clear if we didn't stop now, we're going to be killed. I just said we because I did it together with a friend, a stuntman who worked at the same film school I did. Professionally, I was quite satisfied in East Germany. Actually, I had the honor to even have a movie that I co-produced being nominated for an Oscar. That movie was called Jacob the Liar, not to be confused with Jacob the Liar that Paramount Pictures did with Robin Williams. That was a remake of the movie that we had produced originally, and that was nominated for an Oscar. So I'm still very proud of that. It's a Holocaust movie, actually. What ended me in prison, though, was obviously not my professional choices. They were my personal choices, obviously. And just trying to leave that country, and I had done nothing but trying to do that, served me with 2 years and 3 months in prison. You don't know me, you just have to believe me, but I can assure you, I hadn't robbed a liquor store, I hadn't beaten anybody up, I hadn't murdered anyone or raped anyone. I just had tried to leave that country, and that they felt was against their law and deserved for me to be in prison. Actually, those 2 years and 3 months, you got a split between Hohenschönhausen, because Hohenschönhausen always was you call it in German, Untersuchungshaft, which means interrogation prison, which again means what the word already says, you are there as long as you're being interrogated. And once the Stasi squeezed everything out of you that they could, then Untersuchungshaft was over. You received your sentence, 2 years and 3 months in my case, and then you were immediately transferred to another prison to serve all this time there. Right now, I mentioned Stasi. Stasi was the nickname pretty much used by everyone for the terrible East German political police. The full name of it is Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, Ministry of State Security. And the Stasi was the one who felt I had to spend 2 years and 3 months in prison. And that was the sentence an apparently bored judge by that, because it wasn't her decision, was allowed to read to me. There was one lucky charm about all this, because there was a rumor, and thank God it turned out to be true, that rumor, that East Germany had established a nice little business with West Germany, selling political prisoners to the West. Why did they do this? Well, it made them a lot of money. They didn't tell you head on what your price on your head was, but it had something to do with your education usually. So with me having 2 university degrees, I might have cost $95,000 that West Germany paid for me to be free. And that day came, and it was quite an exciting day for me, because it was also a very dangerous day. I had established in prison a distribution system, if you want to call that, for a highly illegal, of course, prison newspaper, as we called it. And to have some proof copies, I sealed them into some plastic, and when it became clear I was going to be on a transport the next day, I inserted it into my after and smuggled it out. This was crazy, because when they searched me, and believe me, they did, if they would have found it, my route would have been straight back into prison for another 4-5 years for anti-propaganda. They didn't find it, and so I got out, and that newspaper got out, which, by the way, helped another prisoner of mine who had written it to be bought as well. After I was sold, it went pretty well, actually. I never wanted to be a professional prisoner, as I called it jokingly. I never wanted to rely on what I had suffered and get another grant from there and some grant from there. And no, I just wanted to enjoy my life, and I wanted to do what I always wanted to do, which was to work everywhere in the world and get my enjoyment out of that. And I did. Have you ever been in Papua New Guinea? I have. Have you been in Samoa? Independent Western Samoa? I have. Have you worked for Procter & Gamble, one of the biggest consumer goods companies in the world? I have. So I suffered, not for nothing. My hope became all true. When I give the tours, people always, they are concerned and ask me about it. Wasn't the food terrible? Were you not beaten? Wasn't this terrible? Wasn't that terrible? My answer to this is yes, that was terrible. And yes, this was terrible also. But it didn't matter, because the one thing they couldn't take away from me was hope. And by hope, I mean that everything that happened to me afterwards was already, you would call it today, on my hard drive. It was already in my mind. I knew I was doing the right thing, and I knew what I was going to do once I would be free. And that hope was firmly in my mind, and nobody could take that away. And the person I want to honor here is not me, is a friend of mine who had heard about this sale, the slave trade, and he thought he was going to be one of those lucky ones. And we cautioned him. We said, hold it, you don't know yet. And then the day came when they told him, for some odd reason, some uncle in his family was the carrier of state secrets. I had to do with nuclear research or something. They told him, because of that, we guarantee you one thing. What we guarantee you, we'll never sell you. Forget about it. He lived 2 more days, And then he set himself on fire. And he died. And you know, suicide has this shady reputation, like some softy, some, not strong person would do that. No, no, no. He was a very strong person. To me, he's a hero. Because he realized the only thing, as I just described it to you, that makes you survive is hope. And when it was clear that hope was gone, he drew the consequence. He drew the line. And he escaped from them that terrible way he did. And let me close with one more thought. When we are there live in the prison, and I guide groups, they sometimes wonder and they tell me, why do you do this? Doesn't that bring back memories all the time? Don't you have nightmares? And usually that's the end of the tour. And I sit in the chair of one of those interrogators and I say to the listeners, I say, look at this chair. Look at me sitting in it. Where's the guy who used to be in that seat? Who used to call the shots? He is gone. Hopefully to hell. And who is sitting in it now? Me. Guess who won? Not them. I won. My comrades and I, we won. Do I have nightmares about that? You bet you. I have great feelings about that, even at night sometimes, and that's good.